Welcome to another episode of Wine Guide TV. I'm your host Dan Sims with my very good friend Mr. Ben Edwards. Today is all about the Hunter Valley, the new Hunter Valley.
The next generation.
The next generation of the Hunter Valley. And it's an exciting one to have to talk about because as you know, as a region, it's one of the most traditional and well-known sort of areas in Australia. But there's something going on over the last few years in that area. There's been this kind of evolution of style, would you say, Ben, of seeing these younger generation coming through the ranks and producing some pretty exciting styles of wine.
Were you asking me a question there, or were you just going to give the answer as well?
Well, I was thinking about it. I was going to a question because the reason being that, obviously you do a lot of show judging and doing a lot of, obviously, with Mr. Halliday, with the Wine Companion. You've seen some of these wines before, and I know we've had discussions about the Hunter, pretty regularly, but we've got a little range of wines today. I mean, what's going on up there?
I think the interesting observation about the Australian wine industry in general is that there's a changing of the guard. Yeah. We're seeing it in the Yarra Valley, and so in areas that have got sort of more traditional roots of doctors and lawyers who've gone in, set up vineyards, they're a bit of a tax write-off and all of that sort of stuff. The young guard are coming through, are talking to each other, really getting excited about the region, they're banding together. Yeah. The Hunter's slightly different in as much as the old names had been there, and they've been there for a long time, and the history, the heritage is well established, and also a lot of the sales that they get come from the cellar door. What they've started to realise in the last sort of 10, 15 years is that that's not good enough anymore. They've got to stay competitive, and the young guys and girls are coming through and they're making outstanding wines that are truly medium-bodied and sort of lighter-weighted. So lighter-weighted whites and medium-bodied reds, and these are fabulous, and it's a bit of an old phrase, but they're like luncheon wines, you know what I mean?
I mean, and also from a restaurant point of view, so especially when we're talking about something like Semillon and being so distinctly Australian, Hunter Valley Semillon is one of those varieties that is so uniquely Australian.
That's right.
And special, but also obviously with a bit of age, but even when they're young, they're really lovely, light, fresh, a little bit lower alcohol, approachability, especially for lunch.
And also the other thing about the Hunter Valley, it's quite an unlikely wine growing region. It's affected by tropical weather patterns, floods, and a lot of water. They have to pick Semillon very early, quite early in January, quite often. But what comes from that is wines that, as young wines, kind of look a bit sort of closed, shut down, and then they blossom into beautiful creatures, and they age incredibly well. So these 5 wines, we're not going to give points to today because they're all gold medal winning wines. So they're all 95, 96 in the 100-point range of things, but they've all got little different quirks of personality. Characters. So what we'll do is we'll just run through them.
Well, we've got 2 Semillons to start off with, and this is the Thomas Braymore Semillon. Andrew Thomas, apart from being being a great guy, lots of fun. These wines, if, in terms of that style of Semillon, I've put on a lot of wine lists because of that really lovely attractiveness and that freshness that we see without being too harsh. Yeah. The bit of texture to it as well.
And if you've got a European bent, these styles of wines were what we traditionally called Chablis styles. Hunter River Chablis. Now, all 5 of these wines also are single vineyard wines. Braymore is a vineyard. It's a fabulous Semillon vineyard, and Tomo, ex-Tyrrell's, making his own wines, making some super duper stuff. He also makes a great Shiraz called Kiss. Moving along, we're going to go to a wine. Now, I hadn't heard about this, but I spoke to my good friend Jim Chatto, and this wine pipped narrowly in the 2010 Semillon at the Hunter Valley Wine Show for the trophy and took out Jim Chatto's own wine, took out Tomo's wine, and so this particular wine it's come out of nowhere. But again, it's a single vineyard wine. I think the vineyard is fairly well established. Oaky Creek Semillon. Only 1,600 bottles of this wine are made. That's bugger all.
But I love it because the real sort of lemon kick freshness to it as well. You've got that really lovely citrus kick, making it nice and light and refreshing. It's drinkable. It
has a much sweeter core of fruit, and I think that this would appeal to more people than maybe the Braymore. The Braymore's a more sort of cerebral thing, whereas this one's got really lovely, ripe, sort of sweet fruit characters. And that's one of the things about them. Like, they're made in very similar styles, yet they have quite different personalities.
Definitely.
And they're not far apart from each other, those vineyards. So this is the thing, the hand of the winemaker, the hand of the vineyard, and that's what we're seeing in those 2 wines.
Now Shiraz, obviously, Shiraz being one of the most important grape variety in Australia, grown basically everywhere, and there's so many different styles, even within that, from South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, or the Hunter and WA. I mean, traditionally when I first started, I remember seeing my idea of Hunter Valley Semillon was that really sort of, leathery,
the
sweaty saddle kind of character, and that's how I thought about whether that was
a wine fault
or whatever. But looking at these three wines, and we looked at them just before, there's an attractiveness to them.
And I'm going to talk about
excitement.
I'm going to talk about the three of them as a group, because I think they're all from the same vintage, 2009, a great Hunter Valley Shiraz vintage. Love the wines, and they're all decidedly medium bodied, but these three particular wines have very different personalities. The Audrey Wilkinson, I reckon a real space to watch. They've got different layers of wines. This is their very top wine. The lake is the vineyard, so named because obviously there's a lake nearby the vineyard. Audrey Wilkinson's an old name. It was actually established in 1866 in the Hunter, being brought back to life, and I think that some of the wines coming from there are really, really exciting across the range. And when I see wines across the range that really excite, that's good. This wine is smashed with new oak, but there is so much fruit intensity behind it all that it's not going to be a problem. The only thing is, just wait. Give yourself 5 to 10 years on this one, and you will be rewarded amply.
It is. It's got that depth. You get that. We talk about oak. We talk about the good oak.
That's right.
It's not sitting on top of everything. No. It's going to come together, and you see that really lovely depth of fruit underneath it.
And actually, you could even take it one more. If you've got a bit of a penchant for South Australian Shiraz, and you want to try something from the Hunter that's going to be down your alley, this could be the wine for you, because it's got that sort of depth of style. Now, the second of the Shirazes, Pepper Tree, Jim Chatto, top bloke, very talented winemaker. Now this is like the essence. It's an old vineyard, planted in 1920. We've got a 90-year-old vineyard, and it's purely medium-bodied. Purple fruits, bright acid, fine-grained tannins, and just thoroughly delicious. Very hard not to drink now, but will age very gracefully.
I really like that wine. Again, we're talking about the freshness, a little bit of spice, that medium-bodied weight to it, which I find really attractive. And you're talking about food, wine, luncheon, or whatever. You can have 2 or 3 glasses without feeling too, it's not super high alcohol or too big and too rich. It's just a really lovely, fresh style of wine. I'm a big fan of that wine.
Definitely. Cocoon is named after the Hunter River. And the last one we're going to look at is Stephen Vineyard from Mike DeJulius. The actual Stephen Vineyard, very famous with Tyrrells and stuff, but there are also different parcels go to different growers. This is kind of like the brightest, freshest, crispest style. And so if you like your wines to be a bit sort of higher toned and a bit crunchy and sort of savoury, I think that would be the style. So you've got the bigger, richer, riper, something that sort of straddles the middle, and then finishing with Mike DeJulius, who's got this really lovely, bright, sort of almost cranberry-like crunch to the finish. All of these wines are gold medal wines. All of these wines will age gracefully, and they're all in the lighter to medium-bodied spectrum. So in terms of style, if you like them light, fresh and crisp, in reds and whites, maybe the new Hunter, the next generation of Hunter is for you.
And on that, we'll see you next week.
Indeed.